pass the floor to the students.
Okay, thank you very much, Sam. And first of all, hi everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar and showing an interest in sustainable travel. I am Jofi, and I'm one of the Green Storytellers. I'm from Hungary, and now I'm spending a semester in Madrid, Spain. So I traveled from Budapest, which is the capital of Hungary, to Madrid. Um, Along the way, I stopped in Venice, Genoa, the south of France. I spent 3 days in Nice and just traveled around the coast. Then also in Barcelona, and then finally in Madrid. And when I had to select one thing, which was the favorite moment of my trip, it was one of the most difficult things to do because, to be honest, like the whole trip was amazing, and this was a lifelong memory I will never forget. But since I had to select one thing, I put watching the sunset in Genoa as my favorite thing or my favorite moment. And I chose this one because this resonates, or this is in connection with my second point, which is what I would do differently. And what I would do differently is to spend more time in one city. I made the mistake of making my stops super short. So I stayed 1 day in every city, which is not enough. So if you are planning to travel to your Erasmus destination in a green way and stop in multiple cities, I would recommend you to spend a bit more time in every city. And unfortunately, Genova was one of the cities that I couldn't completely discover because I didn't have the time and I didn't have the energy. So this is why I was watching the sunset in Genoa, because this was very memorable, and this is when I realized that um, my planning strategy wasn't the best. What I learned is that I learned to overcome my fears, because I feel that before this trip, I was super, super stressed. I tried to plan everything I could. I bought all the tickets. I tried to make an hour by hour plan of what I want to visit, what I want to do, and like I was super, super stressed. And what I learned is that you don't have to do all this because nothing will go as planned. Like you cannot plan a trip like this in advance and expect everything will happen as you imagined. So you have to just go with the flow and trust yourself that you can do anything. You can overcome any problem. For example, I had the problem of not having the hostel I booked. It didn't exist. But I just checked my phone. I booked another hostel and it worked out. So you shouldn't stress. You can solve any problem without a problem if you have the right mindset and just try to enjoy your trip. And why I would recommend you to travel green is because it's so much more fun. Like I'm not gonna lie, it was the best trip of my life, and also because it shapes your personality and reduces your carbon footprint during these trips. During like interrailing, I traveled mainly by bus, so I wouldn't call it interrailing. It was rather interbusing, but um, during these trips you meet a bunch of amazing people who shape your personality. You have to learn how to communicate with others. You meet a bunch of new cultures, um, and this shapes your personality in a way that you cannot even imagine. And also you encounter problems that you probably would never in your life if you don't do this. So you also learn a lot about yourself, your problem solving skills. Yes, it improves your personality tremendously. And of course, it reduces your carbon footprint. Before my trip, I actually made short calculations about how much my trip will um, reduce my carbon footprint, and my findings were something like the reduced amount of carbon dioxide would be enough to heat my apartment for 1.5 months. So this is actually amazing. If you put this reduction into actual real life examples, you see how much difference it makes. So yes, I would 100% recommend you for all these reasons to travel green. And I think the main question is always if I would do it again. And yes, I would 100% do it again. And I'm recommending to do it for everyone. And yes, I will do it actually very, very soon because I'm going to my second Erasmus semester to Slovenia and I'm planning to travel there green as well. So this is not even a question for me. I would do it again anytime. And thank you very much for listening to my story. And after you hear about the others, I am very happy to answer questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sophia, for already painting a very beautiful and realistic and inspiring landscape of your experience. As said before, we will have a Q&A section for storytellers at the end. So it's now time to hear from our next student.
Hi everyone. Thanks for tuning in for this webinar. I hope you'll enjoy all our experiences. And yeah, my name is Esteban, and I went from Rotterdam, all the way in the Netherlands, to Prague. I know the title says Berlin, but that's because that's the stop I made in my green travel. And yeah, that's basically where I spent most of the trip. And well, one thing that I really liked about the city is that it's a city full of art all around. There's music everywhere, people doing paintings, things like that. And one Sunday, I went to this flea market and I made these nomad artists. They were called themselves like that, and they were these two guys that were traveling all around Europe with their band and they were spreading these really cool messages that they impacted me. They yeah, they were giving out these messages of how we should stop wars, genocides, that we should take care about our planet. And I think it's really cool because sometimes we get too focused in work, studying, and there's also these things bigger than us that are also important and raise awareness. That's also part why I joined this project because I think it's a cool message, that we need to take care of our Earth. And yeah, mm, also in this trip, one thing that I would have differently, I took a train from Rotterdam to Berlin and then a bus from Berlin to Prague. And I think it would have been also really cool to make a part of the trip by bike or walking, because I think this way you can really stop yourself down and yeah, really think about what's been happening to you. You also get to meet more people doing these things because you have to figure more things along the way, like maybe stop on a gas station or you need to get some water. And these little random interactions maybe lead to things you wouldn't have expected. And personally, this trip has taught me a lot of things about myself, especially because it's the first time I've done a solo travel. And yeah, I don't know, it has taught me how to trust myself a little bit more, that if I put my mind to it, I can do the things. And also that we are choose, all of us, to choose our own adventures, that we don't need to depend on anybody else to do these kind of things. And if I could recommend someone to do this green travel, not only you're contributing to helping the planet, I feel like when you travel by plane, just going from point A and from point B, and having had this experience, I would have missed so many things if I wouldn't have taken so many days to make a trip like this. And I would have missed a lot of memories, meeting new people along the way, just enjoying the scene on a stupid sunset, something you don't appreciate. But those little things, now that I look back at them, are some memories that I'm really fond about them. And yeah, that would be a little bit of my summary of the trip. If you guys have any questions later, I'm gladly open to answer them all. And yeah, that would be it. Thank you very much for listening.
Excellent. Thank you, Esteban, as well. Let's hear it from the third student now.
Okay, so hello everybody. I'm Carlos Garcia. I'm another storyteller from this campaign, and thank you for joining this webinar. So I would like to explain a bit about my travel. I traveled from Spain, like today, from the eastern coast to Lapland to northern Sweden, because I'm doing my Erasmus in Umeå in the north of Sweden. And the first time I told people that I was going by train, they were like, "Are you crazy? Like, you're gonna take forever." But then, in the end, I was able to like enjoy my trip, and I did a lot of things along the way. So, doing this green travel has allowed me to visit like my friends who were over Europe, because 4 years ago I did another exchange in Switzerland. So I stopped in Switzerland for a week, and there I visited like my old friends, and it was very inspiring, like to realize how far I am from them, like because I travel all the way by train. And for example, one highlight of my journey was when I went to my host grandmother's house, and she didn't know I was going at all, and I knocked at her door, and she was like, she opened, and then she slammed me the door in my face because she didn't know me, because I had grown up so much. And then she took me like 2 seconds to realize, oh, it's you. And then she invited me over, and it was a really beautiful moment because I hadn't seen her for 4 years. And apart from that, you also meet a lot of people in the train that help you no matter what, because you are on the same situation, and you make like really deeper connections. So yeah, it's really good to take that moment to meet new people and just to revisit other people. And as I did Interrail, something I would do differently is I would book seats in advance, because I was sometimes sitting on the floor for like 8 hours with all my luggage. But yeah, that's because like seat reservations sell out fast. But I had no problem with it, so I just had like I just took my time and enjoyed the travel. So, yeah, as I told you, slow traveling teaches you that even if something doesn't go as planned, you can still calm down, enjoy the ride, and keep moving further. Because if you have a positive mindset, you don't mind if you are like on a floor for 6 hours, you can still move further. Yeah. And other than that, when you arrive to your Erasmus destination, telling people that you have come all the way from your home country by green means of transport is like an amazing icebreaker, because people will say, "Oh, and what have you done in your way?" And it's a really cool thing to do, and you inspire more people to do the same. And for example, in Berlin, I discovered Berlin by bike, and I knew the first thing I had to buy when I get to my Erasmus destination was a bike. So I was scrolling through like all secondhand sellers, and the day I got there, I already had a bike. So yeah, it's also a really good experience. Like, it's a good opportunity to know how to have like a greener lifestyle and apply that straight into your Erasmus. Yeah, so thanks for listening.
Great. Thank you, Carlos, as well. And specifically also for reminding us the human dimension of everything and how important it is to keep that in mind, and also having the potential spillover of green travel into other aspects of our life. So hearing that you are also biking a lot in your host city is wonderful. I will move on to the last student for now that is with us to share her story as well.
Hello, everyone. I'm Divya. I'm from India. I'm studying in Würzburg, Germany, but I'm doing my Erasmus semester here in Leuven, Belgium. I'm really happy to be here, and it still feels a little bit unreal that I was selected as a storyteller, because my journey was quite simple. I did not do anything big. I just took a bus trip, but the bus trip meant a lot to me. The best moment of my trip was on the bus early in the morning. I started at 4:30 a.m. When I started, it was still very dark and cold, but through the way, the sky slowly turned pink and the fog kind of lifted, and for the first time, I could see the sun rise while sitting by the window in the bus. And I didn't even think anything. It just felt very surreal, and the pink sky was so pretty. So that moment, I felt like it was the beginning of everything. And if I had taken a flight, I would have missed that feeling completely. Um, Honestly, the one thing that I would do differently is that I would pack very lighter, because I still know that I carried a lot of things I don't even touch during this semester. And I also would probably plan a lot of stretch breaks during the bus trip whenever the bus stopped. Um, just to make the long journey, because it was a almost 9 hour trip. It would have made my journey a lot easier if I had taken those stretch breaks. Otherwise, the bus was very perfect for me, because the bus ride meant that I don't have to stop in between and make carry my luggage and change to a different mode of transport, which would have meant made the trip quite difficult. Um, Something that's personal about me is that I live with multiple sclerosis. So I have learned that to move at a gentler pace and listening to my body is more important to me than deciding the fastest means of transport. That's why bus ride made more sense, because bus ride meant there was no rush, no running through the airports and sitting and waiting for the takeoff, just calm, steady journey. Um, One thing that I've learned in a deeper way is that slower travel gives you time to arrive inside your mind too. You think a lot when you are traveling in a very slow motion. And on a flight, you kind of disappear from one place and suddenly appear somewhere else. But on the bus, I had hours to think, breathe, plan, watch the scenery change. It was a lot of green, water, and the sky, which was so beautiful, and slowly prepare for my new chapter here in Leuven. By the time I reached Leuven, I already felt very peaceful, not stressed or overwhelmed, because I had this long trip in the bus. I felt ready for this new chapter in my life. Um, and for me, green travel isn't just about carbon emissions. Although it is very important, it's also about the experience. You notice more when you're traveling really slow. You see the green and you feel more connected to the journey. And you actually see the places in between the journey. And it's kinder to the planet and to yourself when you're traveling very slow. In thousands of Erasmus students, to choose a greener option just even once makes a real difference. And honestly, the journey becomes a memory that lasts for a lifetime, not something you just skip. Um, so that's my story, simple, gentle, and meaningful to me. I hope it encourages everyone here to travel green at least once in their life. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Divya, for very poetically and nicely summarizing what your experience was like and what it meant for you. It was really beautiful. We have two more stories from our students, so we can move on to the next slide and hear actually from their recorded messages, since they were not able to join us today.
Hello, my name is Sofia Saldanha, and unfortunately I cannot be present on the webinar today, but I hope this video is gonna help you with my experiences. Maybe I can encourage you, and maybe I can feel you, like help you in some way if you want to do a green travel. Well, I decided to do a green travel from Porto, where I study architecture, to Munich, where I am right now doing my Erasmus. So I did the trip with my bike and train. So it was like 25 days traveling from Porto to Santiago Compostela onto the coast, and then all the Spanish coast on the north until France, and then trains to Munich. And well, I'm gonna share a highlight moment of my trip, and also what I would do differently and what I learned. And actually, I think one of the most important moments of this trip for me was when I arrived in the coast. I was traveling alone for the first time with the bike, so it was kind of hard the first days. I was like really afraid, and insecure. And when I arrived in the coast, I was so happy. Like when I saw the ocean, I was really like, I felt at home. And for me it was really important because I'm always thinking like what is to be at home and what makes me feel home, like how to define that, like what is home. And that moment was like, for me, it was important because I just like realized that I grew up in the ocean. Like I grew up like in Brazil because I'm Brazilian and close to the ocean. And so for me, it's what made me feel good. And when I saw the ocean and at that moment, I felt safe, like all the fear that I was feeling the past days, like can disappear. It's like everything's gonna be okay, And then for me, it was important moment because it was a moment where I actually get conscious about one of the things that made me feel home. And I was really happy with that.
When I was younger, I should have known better, and I can't feel no remorse, and you don't feel left.
Hi everyone, my name is Lena, I'm 25 years old and I study business administration in my master's in Germany. I just started my Erasmus semester here in Italy, in Bologna, and most of the people I know flew here. But I want to be a little more different because first, I care about sustainability. Second, airport kind of stresses me out with all the security checks and stuff like that. And third, I wanted to start my journey a little bit more differently, more adventurous. So instead of booking a flight, I just packed my backpack, bought a train ticket, and then I took 3 regional trains. I had an overnight sleep at a friend's house. Then I took the Intercity Express to Munich, and the last but not least, the international train to Bologna. One of my favorite highlights happened somewhere between Germany and the Italian Alps. I was sitting next to the window, looking out, hearing to some music, and there were some strangers, a Czech family, and they offered me some bananas, which was pretty cool, and also to play cards with them. And this is one of the most important or the most highlight things during the journey, the connections. This family was traveling to Italy and we didn't share a common language, but still this connection through playing card games and also offering me the banana was really good because I didn't pack enough snacks. If I could change one thing, it would be definitely planning more snacks beforehand because I have celiac disease, meaning I have to eat gluten-free, and this is a little bit more difficult if you travel the whole day just by trains. Luckily, I packed my reusable bottle and my food container, but still, you will snack a lot during your train ride. Oh, and I would also try to book like slightly longer transitions between the trains or more long distance trains because it was a little bit stressful to change a lot of regional trains, especially in Germany. So if you have the possibility to book more longer transitions or more long distance trains, then I would definitely recommend that, especially if you have a big suitcase or a big backpack. One of the biggest things I learned on this journey was how much the pace really matters if you travel, especially if you travel to your new destination. I mean, flying is fast. You travel from one country to another country and you don't really recognize what's in between. But if you go by train, everything is slower. You can really connect to the feeling of really going abroad. But on a train, you have hours to process what is really happening. You will leave your family behind for a couple of months. Also your family, you will leave your old life behind. You will jump into a new chapter. You will meet new friends and new experiences, new adventures. And this is really cool. Traveling slowly forced me down to really stable myself, to think about my emotions, what I want to experience and what I want to achieve during my semester abroad. By the time I arrived in Bologna, sweaty but smiling, I feel more grounded because I had really time to process all of my thoughts and my feelings during the train rides. I would recommend traveling green, especially if you're in your Erasmus, because of environmental impact, but also emotional impact. On the environmental side, the numbers are also pretty shocking because a return flight from Berlin to Bologna creates 0.19 tons of carbon dioxide. A train ride instead 0.01 till 0.02, which is like 10 to 20 more times more emission. But the emotional side matters too, because a train ride is much slower than a plane ride. And you really have the time to process. You have the time to notice, to learn, and to really get a feeling how it is to move to another country. You don't rush into your Erasmus, you arrive on it. So if you're preparing for your Erasmus, try to plan at least a little bit more sustainable, because it really matters for the environment, but also for you, because it really slows down your travel. You can think more about your emotions, your feelings, and what you want to achieve in your semester abroad.
Ophelia, you've been on my mind, girl, since the flood. Ophelia, heaven help a fool who falls in love.
Excellent. Now this finally wraps up the first introduction and presentation of the students, and I will hand over to Nelly from ESN for a Q&A session with our students. So Nelly.
Thank you very much. I hope that you can hear me well. I just want to say something that I didn't realize before, but it's mostly to the students, that it was one thing to read your applications, and we already, really, I'm not exaggerating, but we felt very inspired, and by your writing style and by your motivation, that is really, really genuine. But then another thing is to follow your trips and to see like what you went through, and now listening about your lived experiences, it's super emotional and very, very inspirational. So I hope that more students will take an example from you, even your classmates, and that you will inspire them to return to their home countries by train or by bus or by bike. A really inspirational story. So thank you very much for sharing. Maybe